in a world. This summer is Joe Taylor.
Are you kidding me with that? So, like, it has to rumble. Like, you know, like it just has to be like, you know, coming this summer in a world where few hearts collide, only one will remain. If you thought dinosaurs, avatars weren't enough, here comes Joe Taylor. That was so stupid.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
It's too much, dude. It's too much. I wasn't warmed up for that at all. Like, I'm too old to be doing high kicks at noon.
Yeah, oh my God. Just like, hey, I need you to do some poses, all right? The people are coming for Joe's poses. Okay.
Well, you got a couple. That's about all I can do. I'm not going to be able to walk or teach next week.
That's perfect. They don't need you. They'll be too busy listening to this podcast.
Oh, heaven help them.
Okay. Welcome to Worst Impressions. I am your host, Eric Anderson, here where the stories are fake and the guests even more fictional. Join me in my journey through podcast land. If you like what you hear, and I don't see how you could, check out the Patreon for the show and help support. Link in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show for free, simply share the show with your friends. Send a link, spread that thing via word of mouth. And if you remember after all that, hit that follow or subscribe button and rate us 5 stars. Now let's get on with the show. Oh man, we got somebody special here. We got Joe Taylor.
Stop it.
Oh,
stop it.
Joe.
Stop.
Joe. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I am not ready for this.
We're high octane. This summer is. Oh man. Oh man. You came in, you were like, he's like, I don't really have an impression. And then gets on the mic immediately. He's just like, this summer is. And he's just like, okay, you are the movie guy.
Well, I think people get concerned because the regular timbre of my voice isn't that deep, you know? And then it drops 3 octaves, you know, thank you, vape. And so, like, you know, but it's that whole idea of like all of a sudden it just drops into the world, you know, like.
That's good. So. That's good. Is it because you can hear it, you start, is it because you can hear it in the headphones, you start thinking about it more, maybe?
Well, I think so, you know, like, I mean, because like I actually, well, speaking of voice, back in 2021, I had to have vocal surgery.
No way.
Yeah. I had developed a cyst on my vocal fold and had to have it removed. It took about, oh my God, it took probably, the doctor was like, it'll be 6 weeks and you'll be fine. Okay, great. At 6 weeks, like I could still barely talk. Like, you know, it was, and you know, teaching and using my voice the way that I do every day, you know, it was really, really, really challenging. And then I guess it really was about a year later that my voice actually started coming back and I was able to start singing again.
Right.
And, you know, using my voice the way that I had been used to being able to do so.
Okay.
But what happened is when they removed that cyst, it did something to the timbre of my voice and it dropped my register like an octave. And I was a high tenor. Like, I mean, I sang soprano till college.
There's some bro vocal surgeon just like, I'm going to give him hard bass. Like, it's like, look at this. Just like sliding the scales on your vocal cords.
Because now you're just like, back it up, back it up.
Oh man, that's awesome. But that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah,
the vocal because I've known a few people that have, you know, had vocal surgeries and like you can get like paralysis in there, and I'm like that. I mean, what am I gonna do?
I mean,
what am I gonna do?
Well, I mean, even still, like, I mean, I will go through periods because what used to happen to me when I would work on a show, and now that we've done a show together, like,
Yeah.
you know my working style, and I do a lot of yelling, and I do a lot of, you know, like, you stop doing the ugly thing that you've been doing and do the thing I taught you to do. And, and so it's just kind of like, you know, like in that place where I couldn't use my voice like I always had, and I couldn't rely on it. And, you know, and still to this day, like, I have to be careful because I've been so used to being able to sing high tenor notes that I don't have anymore. And coming to the reality and to the conclusion of like, it doesn't make my voice worse. It's just different. And learning, it took a while to learn that, like, now I just have to really focus on baritone sounds as opposed to tenor sounds.
Right.
So
that is so interesting. That had to have been, like a shock. Like, you know?
Well, like so I had I had created a really bad habit of not using my diaphragm the way that I was supposed to after all of the years of yelling over music and screaming and trying to get people's attention because, like, you know, I'm working on shows where there are 30, 40 people, and even if they're just murmuring, and then I am the person that everybody relies on to bring everyone to attention. So I'm not going to do what I would do because I would blow your ears out. But that whole, and so by the time we would get done with a show, my voice would be completely raspy, and it would be, you know, like it would take like about a week or so for it to come back. And after I finished Chicago, which was the first show that I did at MCC when I started teaching there, after that show, my voice never returned. And then, you know, so like I was just like, oh, it just needs to rest. Like, I don't know what I've done, blah, 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 blah. And I actually went to the dentist and was at the dentist. And the dentist was like, you need to go have your vocal cords checked.
Ooh.
She was like, because like your voice is not correct. Because she said it sounded like popcorn. And so I was like, okay, all right, you know, and of course I walked out and I'm like, what does she know? Like, she's just a dentist, like, you know, like, don't tell me what's wrong with my voice. Like, literally, you know, like, because I'm the diva that I am. And so, you know, but I went to the doctor and she sent me to an ENT and he was like, yeah, you have, he was like, it's not nodes. It's just, he was like, it's some kind of cyst. So they did a biopsy on it and sent it away, came back. It was not cancerous. It was just a growth. And so they took it off. And, you know, and so people who knew me before that surgery and now know me now, they're like, God, your voice is so much different.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah.
I actually sound like a boy now.
I'm a real boy.
I'm a real boy.
Yeah, no, people, I no, I'm listening to it, you know, live and I'm just like, people are going to dig this, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to
I mean, like, you know, I've always been told, you know, because I have a very dramatic voice.
Oh,
and
what? No.
What? Me?
What?
Dramatic? Who would have known? And so, like, it's just the idea of, you know, I mean, being a theater person, you are charged all the time with having to do different things with your voice. And, you know, and so that's something that I try to teach our students, and which is really odd because I teach it in a movement class. And so we do Laban movement, which is a style of dance that was developed by Rudolf Laban back in the 1800s.
Okay.
And so it basically works on the 8 efforts of the body. So like punch, press, dab, flick, you know, all of the simple movements that we do every day as just human beings.
Yeah.
And so you learn that you can do that with your voice. So if I want to press someone and I want them to feel a certain way, like, okay, that sounds a little, I'm going to back up. Like I'm starting to creep myself out. So, but, you know.
People are stopping their cars. Like, wow.
What's going on?
I feel pressed.
or you flick it, like,
Yeah.
and so when you learn to
Yeah.
do those kinds of things with your voice, then that is really what voiceover work is all about.
Oh, sure.
Like
Sure.
you have to be dramatic with your voice.
Mhm.
And so people have told me for years that I should do voiceover work. And
yeah.
I've just never gotten into it. I
Yeah.
mean, every so often I'm like, that sounds like that would be a fun side job. But then I've got like, 6 shows that I'm putting together all at once. And,
For sure.
and there's just not enough time.
Yeah, if you ever need to just come over and get to get an MP3, I will, like, all you got to do is sit there. I'll hit record. I'll give you the MP3 real quick.
Well, actually,
You know what I mean?
like there is something that we can talk about, later
Okay.
for the project that I'm working on right now because I need a radio voice.
Really?
And I'm directing.
Yes, please tell them.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
tell the people.
So, from being at the college, I have joined into the community theater
At large,
scene
yes.
that is here in
Yes.
Waco, which is gigantic.
Yes, it has grown a ton.
And so at the Brazos Theater of Waco,
Mm-hmm.
that is run by Beth Richards,
Okay.
she does. They do a lot of dinner theater.
Yeah.
And so
That's
she-
on Bosque
that's
for
on-
Wacoans?
Yes, it's
on
on
Bosque?
it's on Bosque, like right there in
It's in the shops.
in the shops. It's called Bosque Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there off of Highway 6.
Yep.
And so they go and they do dinner theater, which I think is a great niche because they're the only people in town that do something like that.
Right.
And so Beth approached me about wanting me to direct a show. And so I was like, okay, great. And so now I'm directing 2 shows, and we're doing 2 one-acts. One is titled Sherlock in Love, which is written by John Jory. And it is a really quick, like 25, 30-minute one act that is based on Sir Arthur Conan's A Scandal in Bohemia. And so it's this whole Sherlock story, and we see like Irene Adler. There's, you've got Holmes, you've got Watson, and it's a great little show.
Yeah.
And then the other one is a Tom Stoppard piece titled The Real Inspector Hound.
Okay.
And so they'll be doing both one acts for the evening. So one will go, and then they will serve dessert and coffee and drinks at intermission, and then we will do The Real Inspector Hound.
That's so fun.
And part of the Inspector Hound is there's a radio voice that kind of comes on and goes off and comes on every time they turn the radio on.
Ooh.
And so I'm going to need to do something like that. So
pre-recorded
So
something?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've got the equipment.
Oh, well, so I've heard.
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh my God. Mr. Watson. Dr. Watson.
This ain't Sherlock Holmes.
No, it's not. Yeah,
It's a different production.
Dr. Watson DDS. So I can't even right now, Eric. I can't. So I didn't know where we could go. Like,
You can go.
I should have asked you that question before we even got started.
No. I usually I get nervous when I have more professional figures come in, mentors that I look up to. So I'm just like, I'm gonna let them, wherever they take it, I'll go with them. But this this show has a wide range of where we will go. So we're just this close to full frontal.
Oh dear. Check your code at the door.
Yeah. And if somebody gets excited,
Whee!
we'll cover that distance in a jiff.
Wow. Okay.
But anyways, so yeah, you can let her rip, whatever you got. That is so exciting. We rolled right into this. You are. What are you? You can,
would you like for me to give
me the
the title
the full title so I don't mess it up.
Okay.
Of who you are with McLennan Theater, but you are more than that. But with McLennan Theater specifically.
So I am the associate professor of theater movement and dance at McLennan Community College.
So
I know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
And you have to
6.
say it slowly because if you don't, like, you're going to trip up somewhere, and so it's just that, but I'm one of those types of positions that they really don't know what to call it, and so like,
Sure,
because
yeah.
I ultimately, like, I mean, if you were to spell it all out and like write it out formally, it is actually Associate Professor of Theater. That is
There we go.
that is my title.
Yeah.
And then there's the parentheticals, and then it's like movement and dance, and I'm like, okay, that's me,
Sure.
I'm, the best way to say it is I'm the musical theater guy, like I do,
that's what I, when somebody, so who's Joe's? Like, he's like the musical theater guy.
Yeah.
That's literally like the words out of my mouth.
Well, and and that's how everybody sees me, and like especially even into the work that I do with the community theaters in the area. The majority of them see me like that's what they call me for. Like they're working on a musical or something like that. They want me to direct and choreograph or just to choreograph. But I've actually, in the 5 years that I've been at McLennan, I've actually found that I really enjoy doing non-musicals.
That's one of my questions is, what, if you were to rank them, like,
I mean, musical theater is always going to be, it's my forte.
Sure.
Like it is what I do.
Yeah. We didn't get any of that when you were posing, but maybe you can show us later.
I gave you my best, be our guest,
So we didn't get enough.
So, but I do enjoy doing, what we would consider straight shows, like in the theater world. And, I mean, like, and I have had the chance, to do, with Waco Civic this past fall. I did A Midsummer Night's Dream, William Shakespeare. And that was a blast. I had never directed Shakespeare before. And I had an amazing cast of people. Yeah. And everybody was just willing to go off the cliff.
That's
and
cool.
So
that's great.
we did something that I was really, 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 really proud of.
Yeah.
And that was a really special, that was a fun group of people to work with.
Amazing. Yeah. I like Shakespeare in general. I definitely gravitate towards Shakespeare, especially when, the second anybody says, well, you pick up a sword in this scene, I was like, got it, I'm there. I'm like, give it to me. But musicals, for me, not that it matters, they hold this space for me that is they're so intense and so fun, and it's like I'm along for the ride. I don't see myself in them and be like, yeah, that is me, but I'm just like, I will jump on the ride with somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one thing that I love the most about musicals is it is the place where you have to completely suspend belief.
Yes.
In order to buy into it. Because like all of a sudden,
springtime. Is what? But
it's just that idea of like, people are sitting around and like there's all this dialogue going on, and then all of a sudden everybody jumps up and it's this completely rehearsed. Like, and I used to joke with people, but like when I was younger, like that was what my dreams were like. That's how you dreamt. I would dream in musical form, and you're just like, you wake up and you're like, what is wrong with me?
No, that's so funny because I literally dream that I'm like picking up a sword and shield and just like protecting like some princess in a tower. It's like, I got you, like just hacking people. So it's like, and then you
just give me a chance to come through.
But like in your version, I have sequins on my armor.
Hey.
But I love both because one of my favorite shows that I ever did at McLennan was Spamalot.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is both worlds. Like I was like, yes, together.
That is such an amazing show. I got to direct it back in, 2014 when I was still working in Florida.
Oh, fun.
Before I moved to Waco. And And it was the first show musical that I had ever directed.
Really?
And
You
so
knew it was Spamalot?
it was Spamalot.
What?
And
That's
okay,
awesome.
here's the deal. So like I had seen a production of it, of Traveling Roadshow,
Okay.
and it was just phenomenal. And I was like, oh my God, that would be so much fun. And it looks so simple.
Sure.
Okay.
No, yeah,
And
I know what you mean.
I have the ability to take something that looks really simple and go, ooh, y'all, let's do this. This will be fun. We'll have a great time. And then you start dissecting the script and you're like,
Yeah.
what have I gotten myself into? Because like when you look at a show like Spamalot, it does look simple because
Right.
like the set is usually very sparse. It's very open. And yes, you have all of these props, and sure, people have to walk on stilts and sing in towers, and you know, but like that's nothing. And so, like, you know, but then when you start breaking it down, and you know, these, you know, all of these different ideas have to come together to create this simplistic looking world.
Exactly.
It was a technical nightmare.
It literally is because how do you make,
Coming this summer.
how do you make something that's like you want it to look good, but it's like the gag is that it looks cheap, or like the gag that is that it, you know, it looks like cardboard or whatever, but like it still has to function as a full show. Like it doesn't make that it's another layer.
It's not supposed to be cardboard.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean?
Because so much of the gag of Monty Python is just like these cutouts and like art things. It's sets falling down, yada yada. It's fascinating how complicated that is to make it look good,
right,
while being bad. But it's so fun.
And so, but I mean, it turned out being it's a fantastic show, and there's so much singing and so much dancing, and it's one of those shows that I really, really love, and like wouldn't mind doing it again.
Dude.
But, you know, I mean, like when it comes to the idea of like, you know, give me a sword, like, you know, I mean, you know, and then, you know, run away, run away.
And then
you know,
and then we have to chop this guy up in like 5 pieces.
It's only a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound.
Exactly.
So,
it's, whew, oh man.
but I've really enjoyed coming into the straight side of theater, and how much more time you get to spend helping people develop character, because you're not focused on, you know, having to have music rehearsals, not having to have choreography rehearsals, spacing, doing all of these things. And like you can really get into the meat and potatoes about what the show is about and why these people have come together. And I just like, that's something that I really have fallen in love with.
That is what towards the end of my time at McLennan and in college in general, that is what I focused on the most and what I loved the most. So in that way, sometimes, and even in Guys and Dolls, towards the end of rehearsals, that stuff stresses me out because I'm just like, is no one are we looking at these characters as people yet? Like what are we doing?
And that's really, especially like at college level. And you know, and even sometimes, you know, even, you know, in the community level, you know, it's really tough to really get in, because as a director, you're working with people a lot of times that don't really know how to do the character work that needs to be done on their own. And so then you're trying to help them shape that character, but you end up realizing that I don't have time to help you.
Right.
Like I don't have time to, because I've got to, like, I mean, we got 5, 6, 7, 8 that we got to get done. Yeah. You know, and there's still 3 numbers I haven't choreographed.
And let's be honest, the folks are looking at the 5, 6, 7, 8.
They are.
You know, so like,
because a lot of times with,
so just bring something, all right?
Absolutely. Because like, you know, like especially when you go to a musical, it's the spectacle that you're coming to see.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I mean, now granted, like I still want to see a stellar character
Right.
performance. Like,
Right.
and that is what we strive for.
Mhm.
But, like there are times when they kind of fall through and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, well, you did that. Like, okay, well, it was
my
like,
gosh.
okay, here, prime example.
Oh my
so
God.
when I was prime example, and I'm using myself, like
Okay, cool.
I am
So-
not throwing anybody under the
Whoa.
bus. I love everybody. And but that whole idea of, 1991, picture it, Sicily, 1991. And
got it.
okay. And so beautiful. And so I had been cast for a production of Company, Stephen Sondheim.
Okay.
And I was cast as David, which is one of the smaller husband characters. And 3 weeks before we were to open, the lead, the guy playing Bobby, had to drop out because he had gotten really, really sick.
Oh my gosh.
And so the director calls and is like, Joe, I'm going to need you to step in and play Bobby and we'll bring somebody else to cover your role. So now I have 3 weeks to memorize not only the music, it's Sondheim, for God's sake, And so like my voice teacher and I are like furiously going through this music.
Uh-huh.
And so in that character, he has 4 one-page monologues, and I'm horrible at monologues. Horrible. I am a song and dance man. I'm the Will Parker, everybody.
Right.
I'm Will Parker. And so so we get into it, and I gave it everything that I had. And I mean, like, I was just like, I was going for it and singing it and feeling really good about it. And at the end of the run of the show, I get a card from the director. And the card simply says, "Thank you for making Bobby the best you could do." I was like, and this is a true personal story. I love you, Walter.
That's so
I
cool.
love you, Walter. But what it did is it wasn't until years later, because at that moment I took it as an insult.
Okay.
Like I took it like, because, well, he didn't really like me that much.
Sure.
I was not one of his favorite kids.
Yeah.
And so, and so I really took it as an insult, and I worked my butt off for that role.
Yeah, you were also short, like, it was,
I mean, I smoked pot on stage for that role. My mother never forgave me. And so but it wasn't until years later when I was dealing with another situation with a student of mine where I felt the same.
Okay.
About, like, they did the best that they could.
Mm.
And then it really hit me, like, maybe he wasn't really trying to tear me down. Maybe he really was trying to, in the best way, explain, thank you for doing the best that you could do.
Right. Okay. Fair
but,
enough.
realizing, like, I mean, because it wasn't, I mean, I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
18 years old.
Yeah.
91. Yeah. So because that would have been the spring. So I was 18 when I did that role.
Yeah.
And so I just aged myself. And so that's all right, y'all. I'm 52
like
and I
20
look great.
I thought it was
So
25-ish.
Yeah. Right.
20,
right.
25.
Yeah. And so it was just that idea of realizing, well, maybe he really wasn't trying to break me down.
Mhm.
And then I really started looking at that, where now that's something that I actually use toward people, but I preface it with, thank you for doing the best that you could do.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and like trying my best to always throw it into a positive light so they know that I was behind them 100%.
Right.
And just realizing that there are times, especially in theater, in college theater, where kids get thrown into roles that they're just not emotionally prepared to play.
Right. So we're gonna be honest. We didn't have the exact person for this, but we're gonna
Right.
You got to give it. I've done yes. Like I'm just like
But somebody chose this show,
yeah,
and here I am.
and here you are.
And so we're going to do the best that we can. I'm going to try to get you as close to it as you are capable,
Yeah.
so that it really does, so that they walk away from that experience feeling like, you know what? When they look at that 20 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, now I understand.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I didn't I did the entire show of Company and never realized the actual understanding of what that show is really about.
Right.
When I was 19,
Yeah.
I was nowhere near being married or, like in a long-term relationship or anything like that. Like I didn't have those personal frames of reference that I do now.
Yes.
And understanding of how to play roles like that.
Mm-hmm. That's the age-old like trick with even high school. I get a lot of stories about like high school one-act competitions, and I'm like, yeah, it's very tough. Take a 15, 16-year-old and he's like, okay, so you're 45 and you've been divorced 3 times. Like, and it's like,
right.
like what? Or you're actually a grandfather and your granddaughter is just not on the right path that you think she should be. Like, I was like, what are you like? How are you supposed to? You have no life experience at all. And that's one act, but even in college, there's still those situations where it's like, okay, so now I'm playing father. like, what?
Well, we just did Blithe Spirit in the fall.
Yeah.
I directed Blithe Spirit, and that was such a fun show to do. Really difficult because that script is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You very rarely run across a play where the script is 137 pages. It's a lot of dialogue.
Gosh.
And so, the kids that I worked with at the college did a fantastic job. Like, I'm still singing their praises because they did a great job. But it was tough because I was asking them to sit themselves into situations that they really don't understand. They might think they understand them, but they really don't understand them. And they won't until they're another 20 years older.
Yeah. You get, you start I remember just like pulling, it's like, okay, so there's a movie where there's like I've seen like a guy, and he was an alcoholic. So I'll be like
him,
that one, and he's like, or he was a gangster and he had a gambling problem. Like it's very, the life experience is a huge deal, pulling from real emotion, is there, do you subscribe to the emotional recall type of acting where they're like, hey, pull a horrible thing that happened to you?
I have used those techniques.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful when you do that with certain people. And, colleagues of mine and I, when we have conversations like this, as society is changing and as things have changed, people are not built like we were built. My generations before mine, we were very because we were the sink or swim generations, and you didn't have a whole lot of people going, oh, that'll be okay. We're going to work our way through this together. No, they're get out, and so
secondhand smoke damage,
right. In a word, where we all die. And it's just that, but now you have to be so careful about people's emotions because if you put them in a situation that could cause a triggering moment, then for the sake of trying to get them to go somewhere with a character, you've peeled back a scar that you're not able to help them re-heal.
Yep.
And so now, like, you're like, oh, okay, well, now you have to go to therapy, but thank you for what you've done. Thank you for being the best that you could be.
Really good performance.
That was really good. Now go fix yourself. And so it's just, so I think that those techniques with certain people can be very effective, but you have to be you have to choose those people wisely. You have to find, because there still are those people that are that resilient enough to handle that kind of work.
Sure.
What I do try to do, especially if I'm trying to evoke a special type of emotion, is for them to think back, think about a time, but don't put yourself back into that moment.
Right.
Just take a moment and think about how you felt about that.
Yeah.
And then come out of that.
Don't Daniel Day-Lewis your father onto stage.
Right.
During, what was the show? It was Shakespeare. But anyways, he sees his father come out because it's the.
Is it
Hamlet? I can't remember. I think it's Hamlet. But yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis. He had to
it has to be because we said it at the same time, so it has to be Hamlet.
It has to be Hamlet, and he. Yeah, and Kelly Parker, he always talks about this. I remember this was in his class, and Daniel Day-Lewis gets so into it, he keeps emotional recalling his personal father who passed away, and then he has this he claims that this vision of his father walking out on stage as a spirit, a ghost, and then he has to quit the whole production. And I think it's in London. But I was like, that's intense.
Yeah,
every night.
Okay,
every night.
Right. Okay. It is also called acting.
Yes, exactly.
It's called acting.
But that's where musical theater gets there we go. I'm right back in it with you. Just this is a show.
Right. I don't have to live under a bridge for 6 months to play a homeless guy.
Thank you.
I might want to go on a diet, but, it's just that idea, I think that some areas of it can become so intense that it doesn't it really just makes people start to feel uncomfortable,
yes.
And then you have sad situations that begin to happen, where, people get into those places and in that mindset.
Yeah.
And then, they're no longer with us.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so it's just, it's so thank you for that performance. It was amazing. Yeah. But do you really think that it is worth going to a place that breaks you to a place that you can't return from,
right,
in order to do your art, And that's why I just it's just acting.
Yeah.
I want it to be as real as possible,
yeah.
But I'm also not being me. I'm being a character going through the situation.
Yeah, I think that is where now, because I am so much more in tune with comedians and comedic actors. That is where, when I come to a table or what, that is where I'm drawing all my references from. That's where, all of my knowledge of movies and art and film, that is where it's coming from. So I think there's an interesting situation there where some comedians like Robin Williams, they won't, they go to places and it's too tough, but they're so good at it, yada yada. But then there's some that are so good at it, and they are able, because of like you said, it's a character. They can imagine, they come from improv or whatever. They can just no, this is a character, and they can really be the character because they're coming from a not an actory side. They can really separate themselves, and it's it's almost fun to be that sad,
right?
And then they can fully take it away. Some of them cannot,
right?
But yeah, that is how I as my art. No, but that is truly when Kelly was Sky Masterson, I was like, okay, that's the serious one. I was like, right. That's not the funny one.
No, that's not the funny one.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. So it was literally me going, all right, I have to actually I have to do some work here.
Right.
And so because normally I can just like, here we go, finger guns the whole way through. But yeah, so I was able to just character. Oh, it would be funny if I was the straight man. Like it would be funny, like in my head,
Right.
and that's how I do it. And that's
Well, but sometimes, but it's a really nice chance, to stretch yourself.
Absolutely,
and especially since
it was so okay, but yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's so fun. It was so fun
because because we can become peg-holed. Yeah. Did I
pigeonholed?
Pigeonholed. There we go.
Pegging.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
Okay, easy. Okay, it's not that kind of podcast, y'all. So we can talk about that later. And but it's just that the idea of being something that you're typically not going to be.
Yeah.
Like every show that I was ever in, I'm always the song and dance character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Will Parker. I'm Charlie Dalrymple. I'm not Gene Kelly. I'm, oh God, his name just left my brain.
You're in a world that I'm a mere visitor and onlooker.
Right.
so, so good luck.
So, but that, I'm the romantic lead.
Yeah.
And it used to upset me because I wanted to play the villain. Like I wanted to be the bad,
really?
When I did Carousel, for that show, I actually was just in the ensemble. And then like my big moment was I was the dream Billy. So I was the dancer that did the ballet. And, but I really wanted to play Jigger, who is Billy's friend, who is like the true, like, thief, and he's the true villain.
Yeah.
And the director looked at me and went, he was like, Joe, they will never believe you. And I'm like, but isn't that my job?
Right.
My job is, and I've never been given that chance to play. I'm always the happy-go-lucky, And now I don't do a lot of performing nowadays.
We're going to change that.
Yeah.
We're going to change that.
And so I'm not doing a lot of performing. I've done a couple of shows. One that I was actually scripted to do, and then one that I ended up having to do to cover when we had a cast member that had to be gone. And so I did Leonardo and the Flying Machine with Young Festival Stage.
Okay.
And that was tons of fun. I had not been on stage in like 20 years.
Wow.
And so that was a lot of fun. Got to don a wig, and so like my bald head was all covered and stuff. I was looking glamorous. And but then I was choreographing Sound of Music for Waco Civic, and we had a cast member that had to miss a few shows. And one show, there were certain shows that we knew he was not going to make, and so I stepped in as an understudy to play the role of Max.
Nice.
And which is a fantastic role, and I had so much fun with it.
Good,
but
good.
There was one evening that he ended up having to not be there due to a family situation and family emergency.
Yeah.
And so I got a phone call at like 3:45 in the afternoon for a 7:30 show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
3:30 in the afternoon, and they're like, Joe, you're on. And I'm like, I'm literally like script open backstage, and literally reading and going through everything, and then just walking out on stage going, please do not let this be a nightmare. Please just and we made it through, and like the cast was amazing. The gentleman and lady that played Captain and Maria, they were magnificent, and they were like, don't worry, like if you go up, like we've got you, don't just do what you can do, and we will take up the slack.
Wow.
And it was a fun experience. And it really kind of showed me that I still have those chops, even though I haven't exercised them a lot in, like to be able to like just jump into a role and do it.
But what's interesting about taking those types of breaks is you are still like, it's never going away. some of the things, you might have to stretch or whatever, but like the things like you are growing in life experience and emotionally. And like, that is what I learned going back, Guys and Dolls being the first show that I did in probably a decade.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, I'm like a different person now. Cool. Like, I was like, look at this. I was like reading some of those lines. I was like,
look what I can do.
I would have been a total hack in this role before. Like, what? This is, I'm not doing any of my old hacky shtick.
Right.
Interesting.
Like, look, Mom, I'm an actor.
Yeah. Literally. Oh man. But yeah, so I bet you were seeing some of that with jumping back in that, so that had to have been really fun. Real quick, do you have any theater horror stories, like performance, what's like the worst one? Like something where it's just like okay, so
all right, so my professional performance career was about 15 years.
Congratulations.
And
awesome.
And so no, because it was because it was all like, I mean, it was all great, and I loved everything. I just loved performing, and it was all about being on the show.
Yeah.
And but I am the first person to trip over something, fall.
Yeah, sure.
I can't even tell you how many times I have gone for a big grand battement, like a high kick, and just swipe that leg right out from underneath me. And and you just like, you have to either laugh about it or you're just gonna like beat yourself up. And now, hopefully, as I got older, those kinds of things really kind of stopped happening. But when you're in the moment and like all the adrenaline is pumping and you are just going at it full force, and then you're just like, you know what? I have a little extra tonight. And and then you're just like, and then you're like, yep, that extra was just laying right on the floor, And so, but I mean, like horror stories, like, I mean, I've been the part of like some of the most amazing casts I've ever worked with. I've also been parts of like, dear God, get me out of this contract. So like, there is so much, like oh my gosh, like I don't even know how to truly how to answer that question.
So I really appreciate that the answer of like, you come in and you're like, I've got some extra tonight. Because for those that are like, we got plenty of listeners that are not performers, that are not actors, have no idea how people do that. And so that is their true worst nightmare. And so, and I'll tell you, it sucks, but it is funny. Like, and those 5 seconds, those 10 seconds, sometimes at worst 30 seconds are the long. It could be 2 days,
right?
Like it could be 48 hours,
right?
And it's just like,
but sometimes it's the ones that are really quick that feel like an absolute eternity.
Absolutely,
where you go up on a line and you're just like. There it is, and it happens to the best of us. It happens on Broadway. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, mistakes happen, but that's one of the things that I love. Like, oh my God, like I love really bad theater.
You do?
I love it.
I like bad movies. Bad theater. I'm like,
I have to
I gotta go home.
You have to, like you have to go, you have to go in the mind frame of like, okay, we're going to go watch this and it's going to be bad. And so you go and it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, so then it just becomes fun.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh. And of course I have an example.
All right.
And so I'm not going to mention any names or anything, like, and it did not happen around here. And this happened many, many, many years ago.
We'll put the location in the show. No,
but some friends of mine and I were on a contract, and we saw that a local community theater in that area was doing Into the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ooh, like I love Into the Woods. It's one of my favorite Sondheim shows ever.
Yeah.
And I know it backwards and forwards. It's, like, and we just did it last year. And so it is very, very near and dear to my heart. And so we go in. It was the worst thing I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And they were up there just living. Cinderella comes out in her ball gown. And it was literally an oversized t-shirt that had been bejeweled.
What?
And they sewed a layer of tulle.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done low budget before.
Right.
I've done low budget,
We couldn't have raided any of y'all's closets.
Right,
We ain't got anything. Old wedding dress, something.
I've done shows in friends' backyards before.
Yeah.
And there's always costuming.
Exactly.
And so I was just like, it was just, but it was so bad that it was so much fun because they were just living and they were having the best time. And so we just joined in with them. And I mean,
That's
on our row, it kind of turned into a sing along, and we're like, into the woods we go again.
That's awesome.
But
they were probably so pumped
but
that y'all were there having a blast.
I love to see, because theater is so many different things. We think about, in classes, in theater appreciation, that we teach at the college.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I ask is where in your normal everyday life do you find theater? And they're like, when I go to McDonald's. I'm like, well, yeah. And I've worked at McDonald's. I remember those days where you have to smile and you don't want to smile.
Yeah.
That's theater. That is theater. My favorite is they're like, you go to Walmart, and you see the people that work in customer
Sure.
Customer service. Them people, they
My
need
pleasure.
I don't know if they need a Wally or, a something, but, but then what's crazy about it is that they never think about social media. They never bring up social media. And I'm like, guys, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Do you really think that your creators, that the content creators that you follow, this is their normal life? This is what? No. It's a character. But you buy into it.
They really don't bring it up.
They don't really bring it up. And then when I go social media, they all go, oh.
Yeah.
And I'm we are surrounded. If ever there was an age where we were surrounded by theater, we are surrounded by theater 24/7.
Yeah, they are. They are incredibly lucky, and they don't even know it because, when I was in high school, we were just getting phones with decent enough cameras that could maybe capture something fun and then by
4
the time,
pixels.
Yeah. Exactly. And towards the end of high school and into college, we had Vine and Instagram and it was awesome. But yeah, and to be fair, I didn't quite think of it in that way then either.
Right.
But now I do. And that is a big part of why I'm doing this.
Right.
I was like, how do I capture that thing that I love doing in my own little studio? How do I do that?
Absolutely.
And when I have them on, these Gen Zers that are students of yours, I'm like, don't forget what you can be doing every day, and you can get the fix that you need if you need it, because you're lucky you have the social media. You got the best camera in the world right in your hand. So yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
But we theaters everywhere we go,
everywhere.
And it's just, and so when you hear people go, oh, well, I'm really not into theater. And I'm like, well, you're probably into theater more than you think. You might not be somebody that goes to see a theatrical show, but we all consume theater every day.
Every day. It's constant. It's so expansive that we have too many streaming services. Like
Right.
we have this problem. It's like, well, now there's too much of it. Like
Right.
what? So yeah, it is everywhere.
And then you forget half of the ones that you subscribe to
Right.
until it comes out of your bank account and you're like, oh my God, am I still subscribed to that? Like, when was the last time I watched anything?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
like, you know, so you're just like, okay. Somebody asked me the other day, they were like, do you have Netflix? I'm like, no, I don't have Netflix. Well, according to my bank account, I still have Netflix.
Just like, so I can watch that show until the end of the month.
No, I can't. No, I can't, because when Netflix changed their privacy policies, where like you
can only share with
so many people, and I have a large family, you know, and so like all of my children all have access to that.
Sure.
And so it ended up creating the idea that my middle daughter's home is where the original account belongs, and so I'm locked out, and I can't get. So thank you, $35 a month. You know, like,
this is not your Netflix anymore.
Right? You know, like, you're welcome. Happy birthday, girl. You know,
that's awesome. Okay, I have to ask to oblige my gimmick that makes me unique in the podcast world.
Good.
Yes. Do you have Joe? Do you have an impression, a character line, a saying, a voice of something in your world, a celebrity, an actor, something from a book even that you like to do on a regular basis that you want to share with us today?
So I'm so glad that this is called Worst Impressions.
That's our get out of jail free card.
Right.
Like we can do, yeah, there we go.
So it's not necessarily an impression, but it is a tagline. And it is something I was kind of pegged into this character a long time ago when the movie first came out.
Okay.
And I can never understand why. But I had one of my dearest friends told me that I reminded him of Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada.
Yes.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't act like that. And he was like, are you kidding me? He was like, you are the first person to like look somebody up and down and go, that's all. And I was like, I am not. And then I caught myself doing it. And then I'm like, oh no, like I am Miranda Priestley. And but now I try to do it with a little more love.
Sure.
You know? And so like, you know, like when I finish my classes at the end of a class session, I always say, go forth, be good human beings, be kind to one another. Now get out of my face.
Thank you so much.
You know, it was, you know, like, and so I guess, you know, I mean, you know.
Do you have, you know, Devil Wears Prada, do you have any like fashion, fashion, just like, I hate that. like do you, like when you see it, you're just like, that's all. Like, what is the thing that will get you to say it?
So one of my favorite, and it's really not my thing. It really is my partner's. But you know, it's something that I kind of join in every once in a while. And so like anytime we're traveling, you know, he has this thing about ugly shoes. And so
I'm wearing Crocs.
You do not show him those shoes. When you opened the door today and I stepped into the studio, I looked at your shoes and I was like, oh my God.
I literally wear them. So
that's all.
Dude, I wear them because it's ironic how horrible they are. I hate it. Like I used to attack people over them, and then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna lean into it. But I wear them around the house. I wore them to some of the show nights because I'm just like, I'm going to be comfortable in the green room. But yeah, I know.
Let me just give you a little word, okay? Let me give you a little word or something, okay? Yeah, the next time you want to lean into something, why don't you give me a call? You know, I'll be your Stanley Tucci, okay? Gird your loins. Here she comes.
Dude, there we go. Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, no, there are just some things that, like,
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, you know,
Oh my gosh. So funny.
I do not consider myself like I'm not a fashionista.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like I wear running I wear like running suits for work, athletic wear, you know, and so because I need to in order to do my job.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know, I mean, like I have a couple of things in my closet, you know, that sparkle and shine, you know, you know, a couple. And, you know, and so it's kind of fun because people get so used to, because I do have a very comfortable style. Like, I mean, even like, you know, I mean, like this is a big oversized shirt, you know.
Sure.
But it's just that idea of, you know, I do like to look pulled together, you know, you know, and so you just kind of have to, you know, sometimes you just have to snatch the waist, you know, like, and you got to do the things you got to do.
Mine's here somewhere. I'll get back to you when I catch and snatch my waist.
I could probably hook you up with a corset or something. Could you imagine?
Oh, I can.
I mean, like it would just take you back to your, you know, Edna Turnblad
exactly.
days. You know?
That I was, award one for that, and that was fun. I don't wish to wear a corset all of the time. I don't see how I do. Oh my God, this is so fun, Joe. Time is flying by. Is there anything that that you want to share that we haven't quite covered? Because I barely even asked you any questions.
I know, but we have not shut up.
We've just been rolling, which is great. Which is great.
You know, like I guess really the biggest thing is I just really wanted to make sure to plug.
Please,
you know, the shows at Brazos Theater. And so the Sherlock in Love and The Real Inspector Hound will be playing April 24th through the 27th.
Okay.
And I will give you, because I don't want to missay it, and I need to look it up because I want to make sure that I give you the right web address.
Yes, sure.
And I will give it to you so you can put it in with the comments and show notes and things, so that people will know where to get tickets.
They can get tickets through the link. Perfect. Yeah, I will have the link in the show notes to go to the dinner theater. It's going to be, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah,
sounds
awesome. You know, Shakespeare said, "The world is a stage."
Exactly.
And then I say, "So dance on it."
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing.
But
okay. Go to the dinner theater. Thank you, Joe, so much. We have so much more to talk about. I just don't want to we could do this for hours.
We could.
We could do this for hours. We're going to be, hopefully you had fun. Yeah. And we can have you on again.
No, I would come back in a heartbeat, dude. This was fun.
Please. Okay. We'll definitely have Joe on again because we got so much more to talk about. And you know, who knows if I'll retire the Crocs before the next.
I hope Michael's not listening. So, but you know, just coming soon.
Oh man,
dig deep.
Do you are you from Texas?
No.
Okay, yeah. We didn't even get into that. So why are you in Texas?
I am a mystery.
Okay.
So I actually moved to Waco for my job at NCC.
Okay. Wonderful. Awesome. So you don't have any Texas.
No, but I sound like I'm from Texas.
I'm grilled onions,
right?
pepper jack
you know,
cheese.
Like I love me some Roadhouse Grill.
There we go. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I was born, believe it or not, in Medina, Ohio.
Ooh.
And but when I was about 11 years old, my family moved to the panhandle of Florida. We lived,
Okay.
so I lived the majority of my life between Panama City and Pensacola
Okay.
Beach. Now you will know the area that I'm from more now that I say Destin.
Got it. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Everybody
So,
know. Yeah.
you know, I grew up like 30 minutes away from Destin before
yeah.
Destin was
So
Destin.
Oh, okay. But
You know.
you were a pioneer partying. And
Yes. Yes. So, you know, I remember when you used to be able to drive down 98 and
okay.
because you can't do that, especially this time of year.
Got it.
So, and then, you know, even though after I finished college and started dancing professionally and doing all of that, you know, I kept my Florida residence.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left Florida in 2019 to take this job here at MCC. And 6 months later, the pandemic happened.
Oh, right.
And so, you know, it was here 2.5 years before I even really got to know anybody. You know,
No
so
way.
and so as soon as they started doing theater stuff, I started like reaching out to the community and trying to meet people, and you know, and then the rest is history.
Good deal. Wow. That's gotta be nuts.
Yeah, it
And
was
for your first impression of Waco to be during that time. I was like, this sucks.
I don't know what to do. Like, you know, my liver's done now, you know. So
You don't get two of those.
yeah, no. Yeah. They say it regenerates, but I'm still waiting, you know.
All right, Joe.
Okay.
I will keep you like we have so much more Joe lore to go over. And I will just leave everybody wanting more from Joe Taylor.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
you make me sound like a tasty treat.
You Thank you so Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure having my mentors, these professionals come in here. It's amazing. It's a huge honor and a pleasure to have you. You were so fun.
This was a blast, and I'm so grateful
Yeah.
that we had the chance to meet and work together while we did Guys and Dolls, and
That was
and
so fun.
it was a lot of fun, and it was nice to to meet you guys, and and because there's so much of the history of the program that I know of, but I don't know of, and it's always nice to meet alumni.
Yeah, there's different it's just different eras of because when I was there, everybody talked about the eras before, and we were just like, okay, we don't know, it was like, and but I think like after all of this time, I'm just like, yeah, Joe, that's what they need right there. Like Joe is
I appreciate
is
that.
the guy, and it was awesome. Like I was like this is fucking cool. This is
I
awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so and that's what that is my goal. Like not that it's about me, but like my goal is to always give like everything that I can to help whatever production or project that I'm working on to succeed.
You definitely do. Like we could tell. We were just like, oh my gosh, he's all. You're all in. You're all in, and that's why go see the show at the it's Brazos Theater.
Brazos Theater of Waco.
Brazos Theater of Waco. Please go see the show. Go see have some snacks. You get dinner. Oh.
Yeah. So,
right.
and and it'll be a fun evening of drama and a lot of comedy.
All right. Yeah. I trust, and if you trust me with giving you laughs every week on this podcast, definitely Joe's got my signature of approval. Not that he needs it. So if you don't know Joe, I trust him with some comedy. Go. Not that he cares what I think.
That's all. I'm done.
Thank you all for listening. Rate me 5 stars if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to spay and neuter your pets. Let's I say that every episode. Bob Barker.
Thank you, Bob Barker.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, for
I
real.
love it.
Oh man, what else was it? Oh yeah, let's stop the government from dismantling the postal service so I can continue making this podcast. Good night. What?